back in, guys. No action for us or our members yesterday on a small slate. We got a lot of games going on today. Already a couple bets out to members looking to get it back. Big injury slate, as always, this part of year in the NBA. So some of these games won't have full in-depth analysis for you, but we will run through the card really quick. Like, comment, subscribe below. Let's see if we can help us blow this thing up a little bit. John, small slate yesterday, crazy blown leads, couple of games there. OKC blew a cover. Sacramento really blew a win. They hung on the cover, and more of the rumor mill starting to cook up here in the trade deadline. But first, crazy games yesterday. Sacramento, 22-point fourth quarter lead. They let slip.
Wow. 32-5 run to end the game, and maybe that's the game that propels Phoenix to get them going. As we've said, they've just been totally lost. But yeah, this could be the game. We saw them to play the Lakers. It was a triple revenge. That game didn't drive me crazy. They went to Portland, got by a Portland team that's absolutely decimated. So nothing till yesterday when I saw them down 20. I was like, same old Phoenix, but a huge win. We'll see what that does. Still got to do something on that defensive end. Grayson Allen knocking down 9 triples. That's your answer there. Yeah. Beal or Booker, not good games at all. But Grayson Allen getting the job done. Sometimes it's those role players. So big win for Phoenix there. Joel Embiid really showing up in the fourth quarter for Philly. There's a game we save money. We talked about the possibility of Denver sitting all 5 starters. While we didn't think that was going to happen, we had to respect that was the information out there. If we went and took the 4, it would have been another heartbreaking loss by 5 points. So again, some of the best bets you make are the bets you don't make. That's what happened in that one. And then the other game we were looking at was OKC. If Shai was going to play, he did wind up playing, but you could see not quite himself last night. Scored in the teens, didn't have a Shai type of game. Clippers, again, just looking like the Clippers. Now they lose Zubac. He's going to be out for a while. They picked up Thies, and Plumlee's back, and they did a nice little job filling in. So not gonna hurt too much. Obviously, it's a downgrade, but not gonna hurt too much. PG has another monster. So and an exciting board and a short card yesterday. Just not enough room, not enough of an edge on any of those games. And again, today, just a couple of bets, and we'll give them to you. So listen up.
Yep, guys, we're going to go through the entire slate, so hang out with us here. We'll see what we got going on injuries-wise. That's going to be the theme of the day, and that starts off with T-Wolves at Detroit. You got Anthony Edwards, who kind of means a big deal to Minnesota. He's questionable coming off a big game in their win against the Clippers. And then for this Pistons team, Bogdanovich, he's been missing a couple games. He's supposed to be coming back today. Pistons, they're coming off a win. We haven't been able to say that many times this year. They're coming off a win. They get it at Washington, a place they had lost 14 in a row at. As far as the matchup history, Pistons actually beat the Wolves twice last year. They've covered 2 games in a row here. Did they come back? Are they playing a little bit of better ball? Kind of crazy, but without Cade Cunningham, they have been playing better basketball. We'll see if that continues today. Slightest of leans here to Detroit, the way they're playing right now. As bad as they are, as hard it is to back a team like the Pistons, and no matter how bad you are, we see teams go on these runs. See Spurs go on their 6-0 run, covering for a little bit. Could be a spot here for Detroit to continue that, John.
My numbers ratings have Timberwolves higher than the 11.5, but we've got Edwards questionable, and you have Minnesota playing tomorrow. So always keep in mind, even if they're going to play their guys, if they play everybody. No. They get up that double-digit number. They got a game tomorrow. You're going to find the regulars on the bench for a little extra time. So you're going to always want to back up that huge number. And it's going to be the same, and we'll talk about that in the Celtic game. So Edwards questionable, even though my number's a little higher. I'm not touching this one. And Pistons, a little better. At least they showed a little life going to Washington and winning. They do get Bogdanovich back. And I think this number is right where it should be. Count on maybe somebody getting a rest. We've seen They like to give Conley off one of the 2 games in back-to-backs. Him and Gobert sat in the first half of the last back-to-back with the game tomorrow, especially being against the Grizzlies. Maybe you'll see Conley get tonight off. Again, that's not out there anywhere, just a hunch.
Yeah, a lot of history there as far as Minnesota and the Grizzlies in the playoffs, and obviously a different Memphis team, but then also like Mike Conley started off the career, had big years there in Memphis. We'll see what ends up happening, where he sits and plays. Bucks at Cavs, next game on the card. Massive game that came off in that game against Sacramento, 143-142, the Lillard game winner. 4 went off for 20 plus. Giannis had another triple-double, and they get Crowder back, and that's big piece for them defensively. Not going to play too many minutes, wouldn't expect too much, but for a team who's damn near bottom 5 in the league in defense, getting a guy who can match up with some of those wings just helps a little bit, all that much. And then you have this Cavs team who's just playing good ball right now. They've won 5 straight, 4-1 against the spread. They're playing great defense, which is what made them so successful last year. 99.8 points per game in that last little stretch here. As far as the matchup history, Bucks beat the Cavs in Cleveland in the back end of December. Prior to that, Cavs winning 4 straight in Cleveland. And that's looking at a little bit of revenge angle on this bet today, John.
Yeah, a little home revenge. This is our one side bet. We bet Cavs in this one. Bet it for 2 units yesterday at +4. It's ticked up to 4.5. And the reason being LeVert questionable. With Garland and Mobley both out, LeVert's been huge for them coming off the bench, averaging 20.5 points per game in the last 6 games, 5 of which they've won. Not only that, Cleveland's starting to turn up the defense. Now remember, Mobley was your key defensively last year. He's out, but they're still getting it done defensively, allowing 110.7 points per game. That's 3rd in the NBA. And over this winning streak, the 5 games that they've won, that they're holding teams under 100 at 99.8. Not going to hold the Bucks down that low, but they'll put up a little better defensive fight. I love the home revenge angle here in this spot. Would absolutely love this with LeVert. Going to like it less if he's out. So with him questionable, only made this a 2-unit bet. We'll be waiting on that injury update.
Then we have Heat going on in Toronto. This is another one of those home revenge situations. You had the Heat who got a win at Toronto earlier in December. And Raptors, they went 3-1, 4-0 against the spread of the 4 meetings last season. Heat coming off a fascinating game with the Nets, 96-95 in OT. Really low scoring. They were held to 31 points in the first half, got things going in the second half. Butler, first game back, 31 points, 8 of 12 shooting. He was pretty efficient. Then you have this Toronto team who started to look good after the trade. Next thing you know, they've lost 4 in a row. Trent, he's questionable tonight. Obviously, they made the one trade. Some trade rumors with Siakam started to heat up last night with Indiana. So maybe that's something to be careful with today. If you're looking to back the Raptors, perhaps wait till you see some lineups and rosters. This would be a lean here to Toronto. Same thing, home revenge spot. Coming back from the long trip, they get the Celtics. Now here's a spot. You have Miami coming off a tough overtime game. Will be a lean here to Toronto. It's got to see the lineups on this game.
Yeah, I would have bet Toronto if it was for the case that Trent missed the last game. He's questionable, and Siakam literally could be leaving town any minute. We'll wait on that trade update. As Ben said, Butler just came back the last game for the Heat. And after missing, I believe it was 10 of 11 games, he went 40 minutes deep into that overtime and basically single-handedly won that game against the Heat. With that being said, Toronto did well in this matchup last year, 3-1, covering all 4 meetings. So with a little home revenge from early in December, would like Toronto again. Do we have Siakam and or Trent? We'll wait on those injuries, and we'll see the line is later on today.
You have Magic coming off a low-scoring win against the Knicks, 98-94 in New York. The Houston sucks, so they're struggle shooting 2 for 15. You have this Magic team not winning too much on the road, 9-13, but they're covering 13-9 against the spread. And then you have Atlanta coming off a win and a cover. We almost got the backdoor there with San Antonio, couldn't get it going there. This is another one of these teams. Both Trae Young and DeJounte Murray all over trade rumors and trade talks. We'll see what ends up happening with that. So you got to be careful. As far as Atlanta, you guys know the story. They just don't cover. 4-14 against the spread at home this year. 10-29 against the spread at home this season, or on the season overall. Tough to lay points with this Atlanta team ever. At the opening number, would have a slightest of leans here to the Hawks, but I think we have more of an edge on the total today, John.
Yeah, the total's the play. And I'll give you that reason why in a minute. But I will say about the Hawks, a little bit better lately at home. They've now won and covered 3 of the last 5 meetings at home, and they've knocked down OKC, Philly, although it was without Embiid, and then they just beat us the other day with the Spurs, as Ben said, and just due to KJ and Vassell shooting a combined 3 for 22. But they got the W, so that's 3 of their last 5. So playing a little better at home. But they're not scoring as much. Hawks is our 3rd in the NBA. Let me pull up my stats, guys, so I give you the right numbers here. Hawks are 4th, scoring 121.3 points per game. Problem is they're 29th, giving up 123.5. But now in the last 3 games, where's my stats? In the last 3 games, Atlanta's averaged just 105.3. And those 3 games are against 3 of the bottom 5 teams. And remember, Atlanta's the other one of the bottom 5 teams. So those teams were Indiana, Washington, and San Antonio. 3 teams that give up 3 of the 5 teams that give up the most points in the NBA. And Atlanta only averaging 105.3. Orlando, 4 games, their last 4 games, they haven't topped 100. Remember, you got Franz Wagner out, a big scoring punch for them. Without them, they're just not scoring. The last 5 Magic games, they've all gone under at an average of 206.2. Hawks' last 3 have gone under 222.7. We went under 232 in this game. This game is now down to 230. This is a 1-unit bet for me in this game. What I will say about the Magic, they've also turned up their defense. They fought the Knicks at the Garden, 98-94. They held them down to 94 points, and the Knicks were playing good basketball when they beat them. Twice they've met this year. They met in Mexico City. Hawks won it by 1. And they go to Orlando. That was last week or 10 days ago? When was that? 10 days ago. And we had Orlando in that game, and it went to overtime, and the Magic won it. So 2 tight games they've played. Expect another tight one tonight. And again, be all hands on deck, waiting for what trade might fall off. This number, I'm a little lower on the number sitting at 4. I'm about 3 with this game.
Then we have the Rockets at the Knicks. Knicks coming off that tight game with Orlando. You have the Rockets just in a brutal spot here. 6th and final game of a 10-day trip. They're coming off the loss at Philly. Houston 1-4, 0-5 against the spread on the trip. The only win was a 2-point win over the Pistons, and they're now just 4-14 on the road this year. So already bad spot. No interest in Houston on the road. Look into it a little bit further. Knicks have won 7 straight meetings, 6-1 against the spread. So bad spot for Houston. Ownership for the Knicks. Only thing holding off on this game is Jalen Brunson and Hart, both questionable. Brunson's in this game. Obviously, that line's going to go a bit higher, but I think it's going to be worth laying the points. All the signs pointing towards the Knicks here, coming off a tough loss against the Magic.
Yeah, what Ben said. Houston's starting to look more like Houston. Now, Dylan Brooks back 2 games. A little bit better his last game, but that defense has not looked. They were hanging their hat on defense in the beginning of the year. Without Brooks, not so much in the last 2 games. Haven't got back today. Granted, you're going to go. They've got one against Philly and Boston in the last 2 games. 2 of your top scoring teams. Let's see what they can do against the Knicks if they could turn that up. Again, tough spot. Final game of a 10-day trip. These kids want to get back to Houston. They want to get back home. Knicks will come out with a game after getting upset by the Magic at home. Yep. Again, this would be a close your eyes and bet it. Knicks owning the series and everything else that falls into play, except Brunson missed the last 2 games. Hart, both questionable. Can't make that bet without knowing if these guys are in the lineup or not.
We have Spurs at Boston. Spurs coming off that loss to the Hawks. Wemby, big game. Vassell and Johnson combined 3 of 22. Absolutely miserable in that one. Spurs 6-1 against the spread their last 7. And then you have the Celtics team coming off a win at Toronto. You guys know the story with them at home. 19-0, 12-7 against the spread. Absolute dominance. Only thing is to get the Denver Nuggets coming in town next. So Brown, he rested, probable. Do other starters rest tonight? It's a question. Who, if so? So we got to wait on that for lineups. Matchup history also fascinating just because last 2 meetings, Celtics blew the doors off the place, beat them by a combined 77 points. Spurs have played the matchup tougher for that, covering the prior 6. Is this a little bit of a revenge factor? Obviously, I don't think San Antonio's going to win this game, but just to show up with a better game, show up with some dignity. Obviously, Vassell and Johnson, I'm sure they're coming off a horrible game, looking to play for something here. So depending on if Boston sits anybody, could be interesting to take a big number here with San Antonio. Look ahead spot for the C's.
Okay, so just mainly for my Massa Edge members, and if you go to the ratings, you'll look and you'll say, wow, you got to bet the Celtics because John's got the Celtics 20.7 points better at home than San Antonio Spurs are on the road. And while that is true, this is a total look-ahead spot. This is a revenge spot. We know the Celtics are going to sit somebody. It's just a matter of who's going to sit. You got Porzingis, White, and Holiday all listed as questionable. We expect Brown to play. He missed the last game. So with all that being said, you got to take it down. Now, if they were all to play, that number's still not 20.7. As I was talking about the Memphis game, when you're up that big, you're going to get your starters out there and get a rest. Up 15, up 18, up 20. You're going to get your guys on the bench. Celtics, one of the weakest benches in the NBA. I believe they're 28th or 29th in bench scoring. So you take those regulars out, where you're going to find your points from. So again, always going to be a little regression when you have those 15, 18, and in this case, a 20-point difference in the rating because the team's going to come back a little bit. You're going to get your main guys out of there. Again, always remember, guys, the ratings are with those teams going at 100%. And that's what makes your look-ahead game or your bounce-back game or your letdown game so important, or your back-to-back, because you're not 100%. So if your rating is the Celtics, 47.2, just trying to give you guys an idea. If that's your rating, that's going to be their home rating when they go into the Denver game. 100% ready for that game. Is it going to be 47.2, getting ready for a team that you've beat by 77 points the last 2 meetings, especially if you're going to rest guys again? And that's just trying to get you guys how to figure how to work the ratings.
We'll see who ends up setting. Obviously, members, you guys will be notified when we get that injury update information if we make any moves on that game based on that information. We got the Hornets and the Pelicans. A few years ago, this Zion versus LaMelo matchup would have set the world on fire. We'll see what we get in this one here. LaMelo, a couple games back now. Last one didn't shoot so well. Neither did Rozier in that loss to Miami. Miller, he didn't play. He's questionable. Charlotte just 1-16 in the last 17, not getting it done right now. Up there, bottom 5 against the spread on the road, 7-13 against the spread. And then you have this Pelicans team who sits all the starters, beats the Mavs without Luka, plays all the starters, lose to the Mavs without Luka. Just a weird 2-game set there in Dallas. They come back, and at the start of the year, they were dynamite at home. Now the last 7 home games, just 3-4, 2-5 against the spread. This is matchup history. Pelicans won in Charlotte. They beat them both last year, took care of business. No interest in the Hornets right now, really. There's a big number, and Hornets been hanging around in some second half. So I'm going to be looking for Charlotte at a better price at halftime. No interest in this pregame.
Yeah. Pelicans, I expect to come home with a game after losing that Monday Martin Luther King Day in Dallas when they brought everybody back. That's a bad loss for that team. If you want to be up in that upper tier, in that top 4, that's not the way to get it done, is a loss to Dallas without Luka. That being said, I'm not giving any home revenge in this spot. Hornets have just been that bad. As Ben said, 1-16. They've scored less than 100 points in each of their last 3 games, and that includes the 2 games that LaMelo Ball's been back. Now, we do expect him to get better with a couple of games under his belt. Pelicans, their last 4 games have all gone over. The only one that went under, 3 of their last 4 went over. The only one that went under was when they rested everybody. They're scoring again. Expect them to come with a game. Now, I'm not laying the Pelicans in this spot, but in a spot that you would think I would normally be ready to jump on the Hornets. Just can't touch this team the way they're playing. Still missing a lot of bodies. Still Hayward out. Williams out. Miller, he missed the last game. He's questionable. So on this game, I think the number's right around where it should be. I'll stay off this one.
And then we have this Lakers-Mavs matchup here. Luka, obviously, he hasn't been playing the last couple of games. Got to see if he's coming back. He's questionable. They're coming off that win there against the Pelicans. How about Hardaway and Kyrie, 42 and 41 points. Big games there. Dallas 5-2 on that homestand. And yeah, this Lakers team who's been beating the good teams lately, coming off a good win against OKC. Doesn't seem like they can beat anyone else. They're just 3-6 their last 9. Matchup history favors the Mavs 8-2, 8-1-1 against the spread. All really, really close games. If you look at the last couple, Dallas by 2, Dallas by 3, Dallas by 1, Lakers by 3, Mavs by 4. So all of them decided by 2, 3, 4, 5 points. There's actually props you can bet on this. Either team to win 1-5 plus 180. I don't think it's a bad bet if you want to get weird on this game. If Luka plays, would be Dallas or nobody in this game for me. This would be a terrific game to live bet. Get either side plus the points. If they get on either run, either side, they just always play it tight. So I'd be looking to play it that way as well.
Yeah, Lakers, they come up with a big win. They needed to beat OKC the other night, and they did get it done. Here's another test for them. Mavs have had their number. 8-2, the last 10, 8-1-1 against the spread. But as Ben said, all tight, real tight games. Need to see if Luke is in the lineup for this one. I mean, you can't understate how important, I can't overstate how important Luka is to this matchup. Without him, Dallas will have a tough time repeating what they did to the Pelicans, coming up with huge games from Kyrie and Hardaway. And while you can expect Kyrie to take over another big game, it's going to be tough for Hardaway to put together another huge game like that. And that's exactly what they'll need if Luke is not in today.
Yeah, for the Mavs to win 1-5, by the way, guys, on DraftKings is plus 500. That's happened for the last 5 times they met. So it could be a good way to get a nice little plus money in there, maybe a little sprinkle. Got to wait to see on Luka, though. Then we got Warriors at the Utah Jazz. And how about this Utah Jazz team right now? Making money, cash cow left and right, 9 straight at home. NBA best, 16-4 against the spread at home this season. And as far as their last 14, they're 12-2 straight up against the spread. Golden State, just 2-4 against the spread their last 6. But they've been covered on the road this year, 11-7 against the spread, top 5 in the league in that category. Top 3, actually, I believe. And you have Warriors, really bad spot, 4th city in 6 nights. They sit Curry against Milwaukee. They hang within the number to slightly cover there. Then they play a very, very, very shorthanded Memphis team, missing all the key players. They lose that one outright at Memphis. Horrible loss. No interest in Golden State right now. Utah playing out of their mind. They've had success in the matchup, 8-2 last 10 meetings in Utah. Give me the Jazz one more time. Why not? Make it 10 in a row at home. They keep getting it done.
Yeah, Jazz or nobody. What is Golden State made out of? This is a final game of a trip, and they're coming off an absolute terrible loss against Grizzlies without anybody. Grizzlies have nobody. G.G. Jackson was lighting the Warriors up. Do they still have that championship mentality to regroup, to go into Utah and to bounce back? Or is this a pack-it-in job? Let's get home and we'll finish out of the play-in spot. That's where Golden State is right now. Now, Dre Green did make his first appearance, coming back in that last game. This will be his second game, so we'll expect to see a little more from him. But the way Jazz are playing, I mean, you just cannot bet against them at home right now. No. The only thing is now they're laying 4 to a Golden State team that for everything that they've been doing bad is they've just been covering on the road. I think the number is a little higher than the 3.5 it is right now, but not much more to make a bet. If it was to go any lower down to 3, I can lay the Jazz, but it's Jazz or nobody. Just don't have the faith in the Warriors anymore.
And last game on the slate, Nets at Portland. Speaking of losing faith, these are two teams that are doing it. You have Brooklyn right now, 3-13, 2-13-1 against the spread. Their last 16. That includes 1-8, 0-9 against the spread on the road, not getting it done. Then you have this Blazers team. They're 1-7, 2-6 against the spread their last 8. They have been playing a bit better at home. They did have a long trip there, part of that little stretch there. 5-2 against the spread the last 7 at home. Problem is they got everybody questionable. So I got to see which of the Portland starters play, if any. And Portland has a decent amount of guys out tonight. Could be a spot for them. Nets not playing well. They're coming off a really, really tough overtime game with Miami. And then you got to go fly as far as you can, New York to Portland here. Just no interest here in Brooklyn at all.
At all. Even with you got a home revenge spot, but there's no way that I can make Brooklyn a half a dozen points over anybody. Now, they're only that high because Portland could be coming in with a skeleton crew tonight. Ayton is coming back. He's been out since last month. He hasn't played in a month. He's going to be limited for sure. Just checking something, guys. Sharp is definitely out. And then you've got Simons and Brogdon, both questionable. Look, if everybody steps in for Portland, I'll take the half a dozen. But got to know who's playing for this banged-up Portland squad. Nets just can't be this big a favorite over anybody in the NBA on the road.
A lot of big question marks on the slate, guys. Blazers, pretty much the whole starting lineup. You got Luka Doncic questionable, Anthony Edwards questionable, Jalen Brunson questionable. Celtics, we're waiting to see what they get up and going there. So question marks everywhere. If you guys want that updated information throughout the day, you guys want our bets as that information comes out, sign up on massaedge.com or download the Massa Edge app. John, we can touch on a little bit of NFL here. I mean, lines haven't really moved much. It's pretty much the same thing we talked about yesterday. Chiefs, though, it is getting up to 3 at some spots, and Tampa Bay starting to go up a bit as well.
Pretty much right now what I see Buffalo 2.5 and -120 just about at every book. The DraftKings did touch 3 a little while ago, 3 dog 15 -115, but they went right back. So that's what's happening with Buffalo. 3 is an automatic take, guys, with KC. That's what the shops are waiting for to see if it gets there, and that's where it's going to be. If it's going to be 3, they're going to take KC. And if it hits a flat 3, we'll probably take KC for a small bet. As far as the rest of the games, Lions plus Tampa Bay Bucks at +7 is another automatic bet for me. That would be just high enough. Other than that, these lines are solid. And these are minimal bets at +3 and +7. They're probably 2-unit bets. They're not monster bets. The lines are solid as could be at this time of the year. We were gifted 2 games last week by making home dogs getting field goals in just great spots. No mistakes this week.
Yep, all home favorites, and we'll see. Obviously, the Saturday game's big 1-seed favorites. We'll see if both of them get it done. Both those lines sitting at 9.5 on DraftKings as we speak. If anything changes injury-wise throughout the week, we'll bring that up. But if you guys missed yesterday's episode, go ahead and check that out. We do a bigger recap of the wild card weekend and the divisional round coming up. And then later into the back end of this week, we'll do another deep dive into the games. We kind of just talked about the matchups and the lines yesterday. John, I don't know if you have anything else. We got a lot of games, a lot of injuries to get to here.
We sure do. And we got a big card coming up Friday. Decent Thursday card for this time of year. So we got 5 games tomorrow. We're waiting to see. There's a couple of matchups I'm looking at in that. We'll have a couple of back-to-backs, teams that are playing today. Always that's where we feel is our biggest edge. When the line makers have all the teams off, they've got that extra time to make those lines back-to-backs. We read into things that they might not be looking into. How many minutes did a certain team play? Now, is this a bounce-back game off the last game? So a lot of other stuff. That's where we feel we have our edge. So you've got Toronto coming in a back-to-back. Knicks play their back-to-back again tomorrow. Jazz are back-to-back. T-Wolves are back-to-back. Sacramento, Indiana, the fifth game. That's the only game that both teams are off going in. But Indiana could have some trade movement happen. So it's we want moving pieces as close to moving the line as possible, where it's to their advantage when they've had a day or two off. That's why when you see over a holiday, over the Thanksgiving holiday, over the certain holidays, they've had 2 days off to regroup. Those numbers are usually solid. So we look for mistakes. We look for an edge, and that's what we're looking for now.
We'll say that spot for Sacramento coming up tomorrow. They're coming off an OT loss against Milwaukee. They blew it brutal. They blew a 22-point lead in the fourth quarter against Phoenix, and now they're about to get Indiana without Halliburton, Sabonis, and Fox. That should be a chicken soup game in some ways, a bounce-back spot entirely.
Returning home from a long road trip with only 1 day to go, always tough. They just took 2 tough losses, Sacramento, at Milwaukee in overtime on a buzzer beater, and then a 32-5 run to end the game. We'll be looking at those games also. We're going to wrap it up, and we're back here tomorrow and every weekday. Guys, this is a no-brainer. Doesn't pay to watch the podcast. Just throw us a like and maybe leave a comment.
Yep, guys, all you got to do is like, comment, subscribe below. Appreciate you tuning in. Let's make some money.
Let's make some